here early. Good morning. I'm here early because I haven't finished writing this one yet. Oh, brush. Ginger. Esterin. Esterin string. How? There, is it better? Is it better for you? Brush, are we gonna have a verification party after this? I'm down for that. Let's see, we got some work to do. Concert. You guys recognize this song. Other times when I do a song that's from like NES or Super Nintendo, you guys don't know it. I guess that's just how popular this one is. I guess this song is also in the new DuckTales show, the newer-ish show. Hello, hello. Let's get dangerous. That's not. Oh, somebody talked about Darkwing above. Okay. I watched a lot of Darkwing Duck when I was a kid. I really enjoyed that show. Awesome theme song. All those old 80s, 90s Disney cartoons had awesome theme songs. Ch-ch-ch-ch-Bandale. Does anyone else just keep the Ludi score report channel up and just watch it? A whole mess of 5-0s and 5-1s this week. Not a lot of competitive sets at all.
The sitting council should answer for this.
That was my era too of Nickelodeon. Also, Keon, am I pronouncing that correctly? How is it supposed to be pronounced? Keon? No, what is it with you guys with acceptable pronunciations? There should be a way to pronunciate your name. Yeah, it's supposed to be pronounced this way, but you guys can say whatever you want. I mean, I guess it comes down to the person's preference, but my name's Pop Gun. It's not Poop Gun. And if you call me something like Pop Gub, I'll probably just change my name in the Ludi server to that. Because that is a hilariously horrible interpretation. Just don't care. Keon. The Keon, Keoff brings a smile to your face. That's good. Patom. Pajay, Pat J, or Tom. No, I guess that works with your name. Are you going to Breeze? I guess, you know, Breeze posted a tweet today, and I looked at the link. The link they posted on their tweet doesn't work. And as soon as I say that, it works just now. Okay, so it didn't work the one time I pressed it. Whatever. I guess I can just look up. See, you are going. Boston Squid Party is a team is going. You guys, I told you, Boston Squid Party can't play anymore. You guys keep coming back after you disbanded. You had your one tournament. Now you're going to a LAN as a team. It's just not right. It's just not right. ESP is just the Batman of the community. Just won't die. Why won't they stay dead? Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast, whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify. While you are once again petitioning for certain comps to be banned from mainstream tournaments, driving down to Southern California for their big local this upcoming weekend, calling for specific Ludi staff members to be fired over the map list that has been coming out the past 3 weeks. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Some LAN news across the board here. I already talked about Genesis coming back on Monday's episode of the Popcast. Another edition of the Kingmaker Hammers Southern California local has been going on this weekend. The numbers, as I saw it, and they might have gone up since then, or down, I don't know. 80 people registered for this event, make it up 19 teams. 19 teams. That's a local 19 teams. That's a lot of people playing Splatoon in just one section of the country there. So it's good to see that thing continue to grow. That's good news for Genesis, which is going to not be in Southern California, but Northern California. I know that's still like an 8-hour drive with how freaking massive that state is, but still a lot of good things going on in the state of California as far as Splatoon is concerned. I haven't really mentioned this much on the Popcast, but I do like to give EU some love because EU gives me a lot of love. I haven't really mentioned Breeze is going to be taking place next month. Breeze is going to be on November 25th and 26th. It's going to be held at the Pendulum Hotel in Manchester. I believe the United Kingdom, Manchester there. We'll be covering it to some extent. It is a 2-day EU major LAN. As I looked at it, I believe 16 teams had already registered for it. There's still another month to go with that, and Breeze is continuing to promote that. Would love to go to Breeze at some point in the future. It'd be a good way. Like, I've never been to Europe, so that'd be a good way to experience the United Kingdom and also have like an excuse to do it, to go like continue to do Splatoon stuff. So excited that Breeze is back. It's going to be taking place next month. Now, you guys do realize that is Thanksgiving weekend, right? Does the United Kingdom not have anything to be thankful for during the American Thanksgiving? Is that where we as Americans literally celebrate not our independence, but like the first time where we said, let's go somewhere else. Let's go to America. Let's celebrate Thanksgiving. So, come on, EU. It's a little weird to have a LAN during the American Thanksgiving, but I guess that gives us something to watch while we're stuffing ourselves absolutely silly with turkey and pumpkin pie. But we'll be covering Breeze here on the Popcast because that is a major LAN going on in Europe next month. In case you guys haven't realized, there's another event going on this weekend. And I didn't realize this when we first made like this date as Low Ink. But Big House is going on this weekend. So I'm kind of glad that Splatoon, well, I'm not glad, but the one silver lining of Splatoon not being at Big House this weekend is that we don't have to scramble to find a new date that we put on the calendar earlier this year for Low Ink to be this upcoming weekend. We wouldn't do Low Ink during Big House. Obviously, Splatoon's not there, which sucks, but that's, them's the breaks. Obviously, there were a lot of financial issues that was hindering Splatoon at that event. Doesn't mean we still can't pay attention to it. It's not in Ann Arbor. It's in Detroit. Or at least it was last year. I'm pretty sure it's still in Detroit this upcoming year. We'll still be paying attention to it because I like Melee, and Big House is a big event. I'm also a big J Mook fan, and I believe I saw a stat that nobody has won Genesis and Big House in the same year, so hopefully J Mook can find a way to get that done. But still, some things of note. We're thankful for Greg Sausage Roll Kappa. I don't know what that means. Gatorland is this weekend too. Is Gatorland a 1-day or 2-day? Actually, could you DM me some information about Gatorland? I know that is a local Twitter, or not Twitter, just Discord's just straight up pop gun. If you have any information about Gatorland, I'd be interested in seeing it. Please and thank you. Today, we are going to be previewing Low Ink, the first Low Ink preview I'm going to be doing since July of this year. Nito did the one in August, and there was no Low Inks to preview in September because we did Super Jump. So we're back. And my top 10 looks totally different from what it looked like in July. I think there might be one team that I had in my July top 10 that's carried over. We'll also do a little bit of a talk breaking down all the teams that have since been banned from Low Ink from getting Div 4, but clearly the things they did warranted the ban. Like, they were going to get it anyways. It wasn't just Div 4 that got them. They clearly earned it. But we'll give them a little send-off because there's a lot of notable teams that are not eligible to play in Low Ink this upcoming month. All that and more. But first, it's time to not talk about my personal top 10, but the community's top 10, your guys' top 10, the idiots in chat, the morons on Twitter, and the imbeciles across planet Earth who contribute to the community's top 10. And to do that, we're going to bring in the person who is behind the community top 10. So welcome into the Popcast, Captain of Octopi, the head person / only person behind the community top 10 potentially, and somebody named after the flower that represents my birth month, Rose. How's morale today?
Morale's pretty good. Did Triton this morning. We did okay. Nothing too crazy going on today, though.
Define doing okay in Triton Cup. What is okay for Octopi?
We had a pretty good run. I DC'd, and so we got knocked out of winner's bracket. And then I had to do some stuff for work. I had a sub come in. I think they had a couple more rounds in loser's bracket. Yeah, that was our Triton run.
Well, there you go. So be it. How is thing in Octopi land? You guys recently got Div 1. I see you got players winning 1v4s when half your team feels like they don't want to show up in the middle of the set there. Like, how are things going?
Yeah, we're right in the full swing of Ludi season. Currently 2-0 in terms of sets, which is really exciting. I think a lot of people, including us, were kind of skeptical about getting D1, but we're proving that we belong here, which is really exciting. We're still aiming for playoffs, and I think it's still definitely in our cards.
Is it fair to say that skepticism of you guys being Div 1 is based on the fact that earlier this year you guys were playing in Little Squid League, and maybe the success seems to have come a lot sharper and quickly than pretty much any other team has had before?
I mean, yeah, for sure. There's teams that have been in D1 since season 13, and I personally was undivved. I know Potato was Div 10 last season. I think Gus was still low ink eligible with D5, and I think Luna was also D5. So even before we had come together as a group, which is when we really started seeing success, you know, we were all pretty much low ink eligible last time season 13 was around, and there's teams that are D2 plus that have been around for a while. So I think we kind of got better really quickly, which, maybe brought some controversy or that skepticism, but I think it's really cool for teams to be able to follow us from the Ink Up days all the way to now when we're SAC banned.
What team was Potato on in Div 10?
Potato used to be the backline for a team called Tentacult.
I vaguely remember that name. So there you go. Okay, so how do you find, when you're adding new players to your team, how did you find Potato? Or did Potato just like helped you guys form the team? Like, how did you go and get a teammate that's in Div 10 and say, oh, this player can help us get to the next step?
Well, back then Octopi wasn't anything crazy either. We were probably around Div 8, Div 9. We were still playing in From the Ink Up, so Tentacult was actually one of the teams that we were scrimming for a while. I met Potato through Paddling Pool. We just did a random pickup. And then it kind of came up that we were on teams. Maybe we can scream at each other. And we ended up becoming pretty close friends from there. And eventually he ended up joining the team.
You guys, you were at Low Tide City.
Yes.
How was
Yes, we
that?
were.
Was that your first LAN ever?
That was my first LAN ever. I think it was everyone on that team's first LAN as well.
How was that experience?
It was really exciting. You know, we were looking forward to it for a while. We had no idea how good our run would be since we were still a low ink team. We'd been practicing a ton, but you know, there's no real way to tell how those things are gonna go. We had a really good day one. We ended up making redemption bracket, and we looked at our redemption bracket, and we saw Destiny troops who, you know, admittedly, I knew I looked up to. A lot of the rest of the team looked up to, and we said, well, it's a win-win situation. Either we get to keep playing in low ink and hopefully win it, or we beat Destiny troops, which is a huge milestone and something to look back on as really cool. And that's what ended up happening, and it was such a cool experience. LTC for me was really eye-opening as what we can continue doing past that low ink line, since I think a lot of people go into low ink as, well, you win it, now what? A lot of that mid-level is untouchable. But I was playing against these teams and it kind of humanized them in my eyes. They were just players like me, and it was something that I could grind to over time.
You know what? I wasn't asking how did it feel to beat Destiny troops. You didn't have to put that, Jeff. I was just like, how's it like going to this land, meeting all these people? Oh no, remember that time we beat Destiny? Yeah, I remember that. I clearly remember that. But I mean, you guys clearly that was, for me personally, that was the first time I was like, oh crap, these guys are really good. and then you went on to beat Tub, I think, as well, which was another really strong team at that event.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a low ink team, we made top 16 for a LAN, which is huge. And then not only that, but we didn't got knocked out round one, so we were super excited about that entire run.
When you guys were low ink eligible, kind of translating this to the top 10, you guys had like 1 month where you won Little Squid League, and then you immediately went into that low ink as a top 10 team. I think I had you guys at like my top three. Um, and then that was the only low ink you got to play with that kind of target on your back, and then you immediately get banned, and rightfully so. Um, a lot of the times when I put a team in the top 10, and it's the first time I put them in my top 10, they're excited. They go on Twitter and be like, oh, Popgun believes on us. And then they're like in chat freaking out. And then like the second or third time, they're like, man, I wish Popgun wouldn't mention us at all, because now it's just everyone just wants to beat us and he's putting pressure on us and all this stuff. I'm just curious, because I understand like both perspectives of that. And it's just me just making a list. Who am I to put pressure on anybody? But when you guys won Little Squid League and you brought a lot of hype into that first low ink and last low ink that you played in, did you feel like there was any pressure or any kind of expectations put on you from people outside of your team?
I mean, we had a kind of interesting low ink run in terms of how many of them we were able to play. We won LSL, which was pretty much what put us on the map. And then the week after was that low ink. So we actually didn't make your top 10. We were an honorable mention, just taking
What?
a note of, oh, look, here's this team that won LSL. And I think your exact quote was, well, you shouldn't win LSL and low ink in the same month. There's a huge skill cap difference there.
Yes. And I'm right.
And, and you're right, but we went on to make podium, which was huge, and that ended up being our last low ink. So we actually never were a Pop Gun top 10.
I can't believe that. I thought for sure I had you guys at like a number 3 or something. I must have been mistaken. So okay, there you go. I never believed in Octopi. Okay, well, did you use that as motivation? Where you're like, wow, he put us in honorable mention. You clearly remember the quote more than I do.
Well, I don't know if we thought that we deserved it immediately. You know, the skill cap for LSL is Div 7, and you go into low ink, and there's just these two divs who are higher than Div 7 that are now part of that players. So we didn't necessarily expect to be part of the top 10, and it was already cool for us to be an honorable mention. I think we were as surprised as a lot of people that we made our run so far after our first place in LSL.
You guys made third place. That's what I'm thinking of, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
probably.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I never believed in you guys. You just made third place. That I'm just
Well, you probably didn't have time to believe in us. We had one low level result, and then that was it for us. We got banned.
fair enough. Okay, so I'm doing a little bit of revisionist history here. Yeah, I always had octopi really high. No, I guess not. Now, so I still do my top tens. Other people have done top tens. Nito usually does a like a little article every month about his top 5 or 5.5 teams. But now you got this community poll, and I'll go ahead and put this up on screen. The community poll for this month. But while I'm doing that, could you explain this poll to somebody who's hearing about it for the first time?
Yeah, so I decided to go ahead and put out this Google form on my Twitter that pretty much had a couple basic demographic questions like, are you eligible for low ink yourself? What team are you on? Do you think you have a chance to win this month yourself? And then after that, it's pretty much just filling in your own personal top 10. Um, Not in any ranking, pretty much because I didn't want to spend time thinking about how that would affect it. Uh, Trying to include the math for, well, this person put octopi as number 1. Does that mean it's worth more than this person who put octopi as number 5th? Like, I didn't want to deal with that math. So it's just a pure count of how many times a team shows up in these people's rankings.
Okay, so and there's no like bias involved in here at all. Like if there was one team who like everyone knows is the true number 1 team, but they didn't get enough votes, you wouldn't like, well, let me bump this team up a little bit. Like this is 100% unbiased polling, is what you're saying.
Yep, it's just the amount of team times that a team came up. I believe that Super Team 5, which is placed first, showed up on 28 people's top 10s.
Do you know much about Super Team 5?
I don't personally know a lot about them, no.
So you couldn't sell me on them being the number 1 team here. But they're
Probably
just
not, but a lot of people believe in them, so I suppose I do as well.
That's usually how it works. I'll be honest. I've looked at this poll before. I didn't know who Honda Squivik was, and they showed up on the poll, and I legit thought it was just people trolling and like voting for their friends. It was like, okay, whoever that is, and then like 2 months later, they end up winning the damn thing. Um, so that's one thing I've always found interesting about this. 75 total submissions. Has that number gone up? Like, do you or down from the past? Do you recall?
Yeah, so this one is the most that I've gotten so far. I've only done this 2 other times before, and both of them averaged around 50 responses, I believe.
What kind of feedback have you gotten about this? Have you ever had a team reach out and be like, "Hey, we did better than what the community suggested us would be," or like, "Oh, I wish they didn't vote for us because that put a bunch of pressure and targets on our back." Like, has anyone given you any feedback from this?
I mean, a lot of people don't come at me personally. There's a lot of comments on it, quotes, but I think they understand that it's a community thing and not my personal top 10, so any bias that I have isn't being included, so they have no reason to come at me for it.
The real winners, who decides that?
Yeah, that's just me.
Okay, so there is your personal bias in there.
I guess that's my bias. Yeah, I just decide to add something at the end, normally
Okay,
being funny.
but we all know Div 4 is the worst div to be in because you're banned from low ink and you're not quote unquote good enough to do anything else yet. So is Div 4 the real winners here?
Well, I think a lot of people who thought they knew the top contenders for low ink probably got a big surprise when all of a sudden all these people are banned. I know for me personally, this is the first month where I didn't have a top 10 in mind. I had maybe top 5 that I were aware of that are pretty good, but all of the other people that I used to vote for have just been automatically banned by getting D4.
That's a weird state to be in is when you don't start recognizing everybody that's playing in this tournament. You guys recognize Conductor Cap Incorporated though, right? Doesn't your team have some sort of
Yes.
connection with them?
Yeah, so they were actually our sister team for a while before we just decided that they wanted to make their own name for themselves. But what happened is, if you remember the LTC roster, it was me, Potato, and then two others named Cammy and Sprig. Eventually, we just decided that our comps weren't working right together, so we split the team in half, and they became Conductor Cap Incorporated while we continued on as Octopi. But we're still really close friends. I still talk to them all the time, and I'm one of their biggest fans, especially to win low ink.
CCI. I put them in. Well, actually, I'll talk about them a little bit more later. Um, who do you think is going to win low ink this month?
Honestly, it's a really hard call. I think CCI has been doing great recently. I think they got second in Hammerhead one time, and I know that they've been grinding a ton, so I hope to see them go decently far.
And I guess the real surprise team, other than Super Team 5 being number 5 up, being number 1 up there, Joe Cephalopod, Joe Starfish. Obviously they did a really good in the Super Jump tournament, and have been dominating Div 5. Um, but I wonder how much of this is there ever a time when like somebody gets voted into this thing where you're like, there's no way these guys are a top 10 team, but it's obvious like all their friends are putting their names in there and they're like spread like, hey, everybody vote for us in this thing so that we show up in this poll. Like, has there ever been a time? You don't have to name the team, but where you put a team in the top 10 here and you're like, I these guys are not going to finish anywhere near the top 10 of the actual tournament.
No, I think in general, a lot of the teams that are being submitted are probably at least top 32 level, and they tend to perform around that as well. A lot of the top 10 from the last time I did this ended up making top 32, or at the very least day 2, which is even an achievement in low ink considering how many teams there are.
If you could, if you got that one more opportunity to play that low ink before you got banned, and you guys asked for it, so don't even try to deny it. How you, who won that month? That would have been the May low ink, I believe.
um,
Yeah, so that was I believe that was Secret Elixir and Bloodwalk. Do you
I
guys
think the winner the month we got third was Zero Luck Found, I think.
they didn't win that one. What that would have been April. Oh, that was the imbeciles that won that month, wasn't it?
I think
In
they won
Secret
the one
Elixir,
month before us.
March. That might have been
There's
it.
too many low links.
But if you guys had one more low ink opportunity, like how badly did you want to just try it one more time?
I think we were very careful about the tournaments we were participating in at the end, which I know a lot of people in the community might frown upon, but we kind of started taking a break from SOS. We were like, it's entirely possible that we can get bannable results. But, LTC came around and we're not gonna hold back there. That's just too too much of a fun opportunity for us, and we ended up getting banned probably for that event.
Yeah, it would have been nice if you held back at Low Tide City. I would have no complaints. I could go out, retire from the scene, not with an L to Octopi, and I can enjoy the rest. I don't have to have that hanging over my head for the rest of my life. But whatever. You took it. You took it. Try hard, and you got the result that you guys deserved. And and I'm glad, because if you guys have held yourselves back, you wouldn't be at the point that you are right now. Like what you would obviously whether be this Div 1 monster you guys become winning a paddling pool than winning low ink, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Fair
Low
enough.
ink is definitely something that, you look up for a very long time when you're able to actually play in it, but there are definitely much bigger and greater things out there. So if you end up getting banned, I don't think there's a reason to disband or stop or get discouraged. Because once you get banned from low ink, it is definitely an adjustment. Now you're not, the top of this cut of people. Now you're probably getting knocked out early in weeklies, but it's just a new grind to start. And if you keep on practicing, you're gonna be able to win one of those weeklies one day.
The first tournament you ever played in, what was it?
I think it was a low ink, a very long time ago. I think it was November, and I did play as Octopi, but it was not with any competitive players. It was with my college roommate and some of our other IRL friends. I don't even remember how we heard about low ink, but we were like, yeah, we're like X rank. That means we could probably do pretty good in this. And then we went 2 foreign groups. So
Everyone has a 2 and 4 groups of low ink story. That's and you get to say you did it with your college roommate. That's going 2 and 4 with IRLs is pretty impressive, honestly. Um, any plans of attending a LAN in 24?
yeah, I have a roster in mind for Gridlock and then also LTC again.
Potential Octopi return or more of a pickup?
It'll be 3 members of Octopi and then a sub.
Well, you'll probably likely see the wife and I there at Low Tide City. Popgun Jr. to be determined. Um, and obviously Gridlock, from everything that we've had, I've had Glitch Cactus on. It seemed like Gridlock was a fantastic. Have you been to Gridlock before, or would that be your first time going?
It'll be my first time at that event.
Awesome. Well, go ahead and plug yourself in and I guess this poll a little bit too. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at rosarrow_SPL, and the poll will always be posted to that account as well.
Fair enough. No, yes, I like that. I'm not a fan of people making random Twitter accounts. This is the community poll, and it's got 10 followers, and then you make a post once a month, and then when it loses its novelty, you stop using it. I like that. Build up some clout for your own channel right there. Get some recognition there. Hey, Rose, thanks for coming on. I know we've been talking about this for a while, and then I had a kid, and then the Lonks went away, so I'm glad we were able to do this. And we'll see where this community thing goes. Maybe we'll have you on again sometime in the future.
Yeah, I really appreciate the invite. I mean, ever since I heard about the Popcast, which I think the first time was somebody DM'd me like, "Oh, Octopi is being talked about for their run in LSL," and I was like, "What the heck is the Popcast?" But ever since then, I've been able to tune in, and a lot of the reason our team used to, try and do well was, guys, we can get Popgun to talk about us. So it's really cool to be sitting here with you.
Well, good. It's cool to be sitting here with you as well, and we'll be seeing you IRL at some point in 24. So thank you again, and good luck to Octopi going forward in your tough looty group that you guys are in there.
Yep, thank you again.
And that was Rose Arrow, captain of Octopi, the person behind the community low ink poll thing. Yeah, I've been talking to Rose. When I first saw that, I was like, hey, do you want to come on and talk about this? Because I spend so much time talking about my top 10, but I think it's cool that other people are doing it, and I like the idea of the community getting involved in that one. 75 people submitted one. I submitted the first time there was a community top 10, I submitted mine as well. I didn't do one for this because I needed to spend time to research teams first. But yeah, that was fun little conversation right there. There was some highlighted stuff. Has there ever been a lower level ranked team in Ludi like Div 6 or 7 that has won low ink? Absolutely. There's been teams without a Div. The first Div 7 team that comes to my mind was Ink Reapers back in, I believe, 22 or 21. It was 22 or 21. I think it was 21, like May of 21 when they did that. But several, divs don't really mean much. I think most of the Div 5 teams are going to be strong in this low ink. But yeah, lower Div teams, like, that doesn't matter when the tournament actually starts. Beam asked for a while, how do you get a cool Splatoon hat like your LSL hat? Jub from the formerly of the Wiggly Phantoms, runs the Wiggly Phantom account, but as staff and does production stuff for several things, gave me this hat at Low Tide City. So I've been wearing it. So how do I get a hat? How do you get a hat like this? Get clout and people give you stuff. And when people give you stuff, you wear it and promote it. So that's what I do. That's where I got that hat. So there you go. Talking with Rose, somebody who, with Octopi, if they had one more shot, they would have done really well in one more low ink if they got that opportunity. And in the past, when Ludi Divs have come out, I'm talking about like 3 seasons ago, maybe 2 Ludi seasons ago, we would give those Div 4 teams one more opportunity. I think Minnow Cup did that this past season, and surprise, surprise, the Div 4 team won the tournament. Traditionally, when we let Div 4 teams play in low ink one more time, they did horribly. They did absolutely horribly. I think because the pressure of knowing that this was exactly a mom spaghetti tournament. You only get one shot. Don't miss your chance to win low ink. They missed it. The pressure swallowed them whole, and they played pretty bad in those tournaments. But we stopped doing that. The mindset is, if you're Div 4, why should you get one more opportunity to win low ink? If you're above the skill level, you can't play in it. It's not I'll give you one more chance. We don't do the one more chance thing anymore. And that's the right way to go about things. In Octopi's case, it was the same way. It was like, look, they didn't get the div ban, but they just got the result ban, which is the same thing. But it's like, yeah, we can't. Like, if you've proven you're too good, then you should get the heave ho. Several teams got the heave ho from August to this month. Now, keep in mind, because I'm going to list off the traditional low ink teams that are now banned from low ink because they're now in Div 4. It's been 2 months. Usually we kick out 3 to 5 teams, maybe more, maybe less every single month. So that's about, you would expect like 8 to 10 teams be kicked out of low ink from that 2-month time span. And whenever we kick a team from low ink, it's not a quota. It's not we have to kick out a certain number of teams, because some people on Twitter will be like, they need to ban more teams from low ink. They need to kick out more teams. Like, no, we don't. We don't need to do that. What do you mean? We just kick out teams that we feel like it's their time to come, and we try to be as consistent as possible with that. And every team that made Div 4 was absolutely within that. You were likely going to, if there was no Ludi season, you're likely going to be shown the door anyways. Starting with Surf and Turf, one of the slow burn teams, the slowest burning team of all time. Surf and Turf played in low ink when my team won it, March 2020. They were in that low ink. And they were on the cusp of winning it, but they won. I think they've won 3 Minnow Cups now. They popped off in Super Jump. It was just their time to go, but they never got to win it. It would have been nice to see a team like Surf and Turf win it, but only 12 teams get to win it a year versus the 60 some odd teams that get banned over the course of the year. The odds are not in your favor. Same thing for Jelly Squids. They're in that Surf and Turf category. I've kind of linked those two teams together whenever I talk about them. I don't know how these teams are doing in Div 4, by the way. So if anybody's like, oh, these teams are, you need to let them back in. I haven't been paying attention to that. But the Jelly Squids were on that door as well. Just another one of those slow burn teams. It is the reason why my name is Popgub in the in the Discord server, because they were at Low Tide City. They got some LAN results as well. They did beat Aquatic Vanguard in that LAN, didn't they? In that final set. Oh, sorry. Wahoo World Pole Defenders, not Aquatic Vanguard. Distinct! Div 4, gone. It's regular alpha bracket team. Just when I'd said I needed to spend more time paying attention to Distinct because I never really said anything about them, they get banned from Low Inc, and now I'll never talk about them again unless they start popping off and things going forward. So be it. But still, Distinct, clearly deserving of their Low Inc ban, even if I haven't been giving them the love that they deserve. Oh, man. This one hurts. Not your, but my Lag Paradise is banned from Low Inc now. And this is deserved. This is based off of the results that they got in tournaments outside of Low Inc. And I think they just finally hit the roster combination that they've been looking for. Like a couple of years ago, they were, I believe they finished 4th place in a Low Inc. And then their roster went all topsy-turvy, and sometimes they were playing and sometimes they weren't. But I think they finally just settled on a roster that is good enough to where they can pop off in other events, which they've been doing. So maybe for the last time ever, it's not it's my Lag Paradise. Unless you pop off an SAC, I'll give you some recognition there. Zero Luck Found. A traditional Low Inc team. I believe they made, I think they made top 3. I know they didn't win a Low Inc. But I believe they made top 3 in the last one. I've already been wrong about Low Inc information this past. Yes, thank you. I'll download that virus some other time. I'm pretty sure they made top 3 as I'm looking this up. This is August Alpha Bracket. Nope. Did they even make Alpha Bracket? Nope. So I'm just making up stuff as I go along here on the Popcast, as we usually do. Still, Zero Luck Found is a deserving Div 4 team. I feel like at some point they did. Maybe it wasn't in August. At some point they did. That's going to bother me. Team 7. The team who I'm convinced just didn't care what weapons they were using, or they didn't VC with each other and they just decided on weapons as they went along. They were a fun team to watch play in Minnow Cup and Low Inc, and made grand finals of a Low Inc and a Minnow Cup. It's just their comp was just all over the place. I remember the Tower Control Shipyard one. They busted out a Clash Blaster at one point, and then Surf and Turf made them pay for that. Gosh, what was that Mako Mart game where they had like a ink brush and a Dapple, and something else that clearly didn't work with any of that other things, and they still almost won that one. Like, Team 7 was just a fun team to watch, even if what they did made 0 sense, even in a off-meta kind of way. They were still fun to watch. And what about this? When did this happen? Fan favorite Eepy Dreepy is banned from Low Inc. We barely knew him. I could have had months of making fun of their team name, and I never got the opportunity to because they're gone. They're gone. Man. Eepy Dreepy. Now, they've been doing pretty good in the events that they've been playing in. I think they're doing fine in their Ludi divs as well in Div 4. But man, that's a missed opportunity on my part because they got a silly name, and I don't get to make fun of it for the rest of the year. Free Flow, I honestly don't remember if Free Flow. I think Free Flow as a team did play in a low ink. They might have now Outcast Ninjas played in many low inks. Outcast Ninjas was playing in low inks before my team even won it. Um, I feel like 2019 was the first time. Now Outcast Ninjas is not the same exact team as Free Flow, but you got some similar players that make up both of those rosters, but they're gone. Last, certainly not least, is the team who may hold the record for being the most inconsistent low ink team of all time, Aquatic Vanguard. Now, a team that is, gosh, they've been playing in low ink for about 2 years now, and they could finish anywhere from literally any bracket. They had an opportunity to win it. They could have won the whole tournament, or they could have gone down the Delta bracket and won that one. I think they've won a Gamma and Beta. I think they might have won multiple of those two brackets. And no team has ever won an Alpha, Beta, and a Gamma before getting banned from low ink. Aquatic Vanguard won't be one of the teams that accomplishes that goal. But Aquatic Vanguard's doing just fine. I saw they've already added a new player after their low ink ban, and they've been putting their foot on the gas pedal in the Ludi seasons that they're going. So they're all going to be just fine. Again, all of those are deserved. And a lot of those are names I've been talking about for a long time. Surf and Turf, Jelly Squids, Aquatic Vanguard, My Like Paradise. I've been talking about those teams for years. And it's just time. It's just time for them to move on and on to better and better things. Now, does that mean when you get banned from low ink, because I talked about this last week, this is the trap we don't want to see teams fall into. Once you get banned from low ink and you start thinking, oh, I'm better than everybody that is still low ink eligible. No. Several teams I can list in my top 10 and teams outside of the top 10 can and already have beat a lot of those teams that I've listed above there. Nobody is safe just because you're banned from low ink or not. None of that matters in tournaments outside of skill cap things. It's still a nice accomplishment, but it's just the next step. If you want to be the next Octopi, you got to go out and earn it. Countless examples, not just Octopi, it's just because they were just on, but countless examples of teams that have gotten banned from low ink and have really stretched that ban to new heights. I feel like some teams handcuff themselves as well to stay eligible for low ink. Not Rose just kind of jokingly admitted to it, but I know for a fact several gazillion teams have done that same exact thing where it's just, well, we want to win low ink, so let's not play in certain tournaments, or let's not add this player to our roster. I mean, so be it. Again, I've been on record as saying this. As a TO for low ink, we don't need to be injecting ourselves into certain teams' mindsets of how they want to go about things. All we got to do is look at the information that a team has and determine for that if it's if they're low ink eligible or if they're not. Not inject our personal opinions on who we, oh, well, this team's been here forever, we should ban them. Or, oh, that team's clearly dodging tournaments, we should ban them so that they're forced to play other tournaments. Like, that's not, when we start doing that, then we're overstepping the line of what a TO should be doing. And I'm glad that we don't do that. But I'm going off a random tangent here. Free Flow was in August. Yeah, they played in August, but they got knocked out in round 2 of Alpha Bracket. The team that won low ink last month was Honda Squivik. And one is kind of like in quotation marks. They curb stomped that low ink. They ran it over. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. You're going to have to forgive me for this, but I didn't have time to print this out. So I just had to... Where did I even put this? I didn't delete it, did I? It's not on that list. Here it is. I had to type it out. Normally, I like to look down at my notes and read them off like this. Instead, I'm going to have to do this. So, just bear with me here. It's going to be a little bit awkward. But I'm going to give you my low ink top 10. Normally, I have a honorable mention, but I didn't do enough research this time around to figure out who my top 10 was. There's a lot of teams making their first ever appearance in my personal top 10 in this list. It's just the nature of the beast. So many teams have been cycled out. It's time for new teams to step up, and there's a lot of good teams here. But I had to do a lot of research just so I could say something interesting about these teams. If there's one team to put in an honorable mention, it would be Toolbox, a.k.a. Bankrupt. And if you recall, Toolbox is the team that is being coached by Jackpot, assumingly for some sort of content I'm assuming they're going to be doing down the line, that forced Toolbox to change their name to Bankrupt. And what is going to happen with that team going forward, I have no idea. Toolbox is not a top 10 team, but when you are coached by the best team outside of Japan, that has to have an effect on you. I have no idea what they're doing coaching-wise, practice-wise, what Jackpot's involvement is with this team. It's going to be a different world for Jackpot because you're not playing against Double Zuka Pencil. You're playing against like Tetras and Wipers and Clash Blasters and Range Blasters and Hydras and like weapons that don't make any sense, that you're not used to figuring out how to counter against because you don't see it in anything but in low ink. So I'm curious to see how Toolbox is going to do. And I think everybody is. I think they got a huge target on their back, and rightfully so. But we'll see how they do. I'll throw them in the honorable mention for now. But with that being said, let's go down this list. Number 10. I don't trust the Lost Inklings. However, you cannot argue against their recent results, including their wins against Future Sight and Super Team 5 in a legacy tournament, on top of having made appearances in Alpha Bracket in the past. I just see them as the next Surf and Turf or Jelly Squid team, a slow burn team that will eventually get up to that consistent knocking on the door, we could win on any low ink at any moment kind of level of team. Maybe this is the month where their burn gets a little bit brighter for the Lost Inklings because they have the potential to beat anybody despite the slower-ish start that they've had in this Ludi season so far. Number 9. Much like the Lost Inklings, you have to throw Hydra into that mix as well. A team that is as old as the sea herself is doing really well in their Ludi group. Currently 10-1 per games record in their Ludi group, beating Kingdom, Bane, and Forgotten. Who? And they have been in Alpha Bracket a lot in the past as well. Hydra could take a big step up this month if they can translate that Ludi momentum into Alpha Bracket success. We'll keep an eye on them and see. Number 8. I still want to believe in Conductor Cap Incorporated. Despite the fact that they fell to second place in Delta Bracket the last time that I put them in my top 10. And they have a tough Ludi group where making the playoffs in Div 5 will be extremely difficult considering they're already 1-1 and they got some tough matches ahead of them. Despite all of that, I still believe in the trains. Conductor Cap Incorporated will bounce back this month. They'll finish in the top 8 and they'll be established. They will establish themselves as a consistent team going forward, which I thought they would have been back in July. All aboard! Number 7. Calamity Forge Neo's claim to fame at this point is losing a set to a team by not hitting the check-in button Then that team used them as a result to justify them being placed into a higher div. As silly as that sounds, the reason that team used Calamity Forge Neo as a fake result is because Calamity Forge Neo is a solid team, and as fair as that is or not, it comes with the territory of being a solid team. This low ink, however, I predict that they will have a fantastic run and will earn a better claim to fame with their final placement in this month's low ink. Number 6. It's not often that we have a strong college team make the top 10. Central Florida's Night Sharks have been the team carrying that mantle ever since ITAP got the heave-ho out of low ink a couple of years ago. But it's time for VCU's own Ink Black to step up. Currently undefeated in their Looney group, placed third in an SOS Hammerhead bracket, this team has the experience and skill to eventually become the first college team ever to win low ink. Number 5. The cool thing about having low ink during the Ludi season is you get to see low ink teams balance both. And usually you see some teams that will play their Ludi set immediately after the Swiss stage on Saturday or drop on Sunday to play their Ludi set. That has happened many times in the past. But Velvet Sky doesn't have to worry about that because they've already finished their week 3 match to wrap up their 3-0 perfect start to their Div 5 season. They got a good match coming up this week 4 against Ink Black, and they still have to play, I forget who their other team is down the road, but if they beat Ink Black, they're going to be a lock to make the playoffs. So that Ink Black set should be the group championship game. But if this isn't about Ludi, obviously we're playing a low ink, completely different animal. It's not a best of 5 set, best of 9 set. It's mostly just best of 3s until you get to the alpha bracket where it's best of 5. Still, that success that that Velvet Sky has had should translate well into this low ink because they've been looking really good. Number 4. Matter of opinion, or as they more commonly referred to as Mo, is coming into this low ink with a 2-0 Ludi record in their Div 5 group and a top 8 finish in the August low ink. Of the teams remaining from that low ink, Moo is one of the best since most of them got banned due to their Div 4 seedings. So ipso facto, matter of opinion is going to moo their way into the top 4 this time around. Number 3. Super Team 5 has to go here somewhere, right? They're number 1 on the community board. I'm not buying them being the number 1 team in the tournament just yet. Yes, they're 1-1 in their Ludi group, and they've had a loss where a lot of other these teams haven't. But their one loss isn't that bad. It's a 3-5 loss to a team called Forever, who is currently 3-0 in that Ludi group and looks to be the one of the top teams in all of Div 5. They've rebounded from that loss with a solid 5-1 win over Scarlet Inc. as well. Other than that, this is a solid team top to bottom, more than capable of beating anyone that is eligible for low ink or has been recently banned from low ink. And fair enough. You guys might think they're the number 1 team. I got them in the top 3. It's the best I can do. Number 2. The last time we saw Ominous play in low ink, I believe, was July, when they were dominating everybody on Sunday in Delta Bracket. Only really having trouble facing Conductor Cap Incorporated, who they beat twice in winners finals and grand finals, 3-2 in both of those sets. Since then, they have improved a lot, though. Currently 2-0 in their Ludi group, including wins over October Rift and Flashpoint. The Flashpoint win is nice, but imagine beating a team called October Rift in the month of October. That should not be happening. And Ominous, with all of their tournament results up to this point, are a legit contender. That's why I got them at number 2. And now, the number 1 team, who is not going to win Loink because I'm putting them at number 1. It's really bizarre to think that Joe Cephalopod, Joe Starfish, is now in a contention to not just be a contender to win Loink, but a legit favorite to do so. The last time we saw these guys in Little Squid League, they were struggling to return to grand finals and kept fizzing out early in gold bracket. Well, fast forward a few months later, they've made it to alpha bracket of Super Jump due to Silly Kitties dropping out of the losers final set, but still got a lot of great wins along the way to earn their spot there. And of course, some people are already going to be saying, how come they're not banned? That's why. Just getting alpha bracket and Super Jump isn't enough. But if you want to use results, you can say their results are pretty damn good of teams they've actually beaten. They are curb stomping their Ludi group and getting quality wins in every other tournament that they've been playing in as well. It's so weird because they weren't even close to being a top 10 team 2 months ago. What a difference 2 months has made for JoJo. The main issue with JoJo is their struggles in Little Squid League, though. The fact that they were struggling to get back to grand finals, which they were in grand finals at one point earlier this year, but ever since then, they kept getting upset over and over and over again. It's going to be hard for them to win a 2-day tournament when they do get to alpha bracket and realize it's the same exact format they've been playing in gold bracket where they haven't gotten the job done there. Can they psychologically get past this month's Loink and also avoid all the teams that are not on this top 10 list? They're going to come out of nowhere and curb stomp everybody that's on this list because these teams aren't being prepared for them, whereas everybody's preparing for the teams on this list. Regardless, in a really weird month where it's been a few months since I've been paying attention to Loink consistently, I'll take a stab in the dark, and I'll go with JoJo as the team that is going to be the favorite to win this one. Now, if you disagree with my top 10, I got some good news for you. All you got to do is play good in this tournament, and I will acknowledge it on Monday. That's right. I always start off the Monday episodes of the Popcast issuing apologies if apologies are warranted. So do good this weekend. Don't let the pressure of me or the community poll or Nito's article or anything anybody says about who they think is going to win this tournament, none of it matters. The only thing that matters is what you guys do in the game. And the more Zukas you bring, the better chance you'll have of winning this tournament. That being said, if you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, if you would like to eventually become somebody like Rose, who we come on and talk to you about your team and the things you're doing in this community, feel free to reach out. My socials below. Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, #5882, YouTube at, gosh, I screwed all that up because everything's changed. Follow me on Blue Sky. Just search Popgun on Blue Sky. If you need a link to that, I have one. I can give you guys one invite link to Blue Sky. It's like Twitter, except all the annoying people aren't there. You can have actual conversations with people. Your tweets might not get 200 likes, but who really cares at this point? With that being said, let's go to. If you're in this VC and you are in Loink staff, we are having a verification party in VC right now because we got a lot of teams we got to verify. So we got a lot of work to do.